He is the only son of the late Dr. Myles and Ruth Munroe, has traveled with his parents around the world, has his bachelor's in international business, and his master's in entrepreneurial studies. Please welcome Male 2016 speaker, Myles Munroe Jr.
This is session 14. Again, this is developing and emerging into your brand of leadership. And this, I'm just giving you my story of how I developed into the leader that I am today, the steps that I had to take and the principles that I used, just in hopes that it will help or assist someone listening to me today. Developing and emerging into your brand of leadership. You know, I started yesterday by saying, and this is the first step in me developing myself, coming to grips with the fact that I hated being Myles Munroe. I absolutely hated being Myles Munroe. Growing from a teenager, actually from a young boy, to a grown man, I hated the fact that my first name was Myles. Because, and like my sister said, there was so much expectations placed on our lives, simply because of who our father was. No care of who we were as individuals or who we were as young kids. You guys are the heirs of Myles and Ruth Munroe. Then you guys must do this and speak like this and dress like this, and all of these expectations placed on us. I absolutely hated being Myles Munroe. Again, just running through what I discussed yesterday. You know, people wish they could be myself and my sister. You know, I got this question all the time. How does it feel to grow up in the same home as someone so wise? For me, it was normal. It was just dad. That's it. I don't know who you view him as, but for me, he's my father. Like, I watch him wake up, go to the bathroom, shower, get ready, just like everybody else. He's a human being. Absolutely hated being Myles Munroe. The microscope that was on my life, the expectations that were placed on my life. Why can't I just be me? Why can't I just be Charo? You know, my dad, his name was Myles Munroe. His middle name was Egbert. I have no idea why my father didn't give me the middle name Egbert. I am super grateful that he did not. My goodness. But I grew up hearing or knowing myself as Charo. They never referred to me, my parents, they never referred to me as Myles growing up. So I've always heard the name Myles, the name Charo. So when I became a teenager and I started to, have to do stuff on my own, like get my driver's license and go to these public, government buildings and do things for myself, they call you by your government name. That was the worst feeling for me. I mentioned this yesterday. Getting my driver's license, submitting my application, and sitting in the waiting area. Knowing, like what I used to do sometimes, I used to submit my application and leave. Because I know, okay, they're going to call my name, I'm not going to be there. But by the time as I come back, my car will be ready, so I just have to walk up to the window and just be like, hi, I'm Myles Munroe. And I whisper it. Simply because I didn't want my name to be called and folks to turn around and look at me. Because that was always the reaction. Absolutely hated being Myles Munroe. Are you going to be a pastor? Follow in your dad's footstep? Be as great as your father? Who knows? But these were expectations that were placed on my life. And they were affecting the way that I felt about myself. And they were affecting my relationship with my father. Because I never wanted to be around him, never wanted to be seen in the same place as him. Because I really never wanted anyone to know that was my dad. You know, the funny thing is, my parents passed in 2014. And people come to me to this day and they say, oh, I didn't know Myles Munroe had children. And that shocked me because I'm like, who doesn't know his business? And then I remember, well, wow, I must have did a great job in hiding the fact that he was my dad. It affected our relationship. And me and my dad, it was a strain on our relationship. Simply because I just detested being his son. So I rebelled, and I think this is what any kid or every kid in my position does. We do everything that we feel will completely separate us from what we're running from. So my dad was a pastor and traveled the world speaking and doing all this good. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and take this drink, go to this party, and have some fun. Because I was forcing the issue that, look, I am not Myles Munroe. I'm not in church every day. I'm not speaking on stage. I'm not, doing what he does. I'm doing something entirely different because I want to be different from Myles Munroe. I want you to see me not as Myles' boy, but as the individual that I am. So this was a process that I had to go through in developing myself, my individuality. I started to hate myself. I started to hate my name. I started to hate the fact that I was born to the parents that I was born to. Wish that I could choose the family that I was born in. There was this particular family when I was in high school. I used to look at them and I used to envy them. I'm going to call names because I don't want to speak my business like that. But there was this family in high school that I used to look at and I used to be like, man, I wish I could have been born into that family. How crazy is that? All because of the expectations that I felt was on my life. And I'll expand on that point a little later. But because I hated the fact that I was Myles Munroe because I knew that I was Myles Munroe. It was my name. My name was Myles Munroe. How can I run from someone that I am? Again, same nose. Well, not the same nose. His nose is a bit bigger than mine. I thank my mother for giving me this little sharp point that I have. She saved me a little bit. But it's still a large nose nonetheless. Thanks. Same large head. Thank you. Same smile. I can't run from the fact that Myles Munroe was my father. And I hated that. I hated when people said, man, you look just like your dad. No, I don't. I do not. I do not look like Myles Munroe. I look like my mother. I look more like my mother. But nah, you look like your father. And people say it today, man, the older you get, the more and more you look like your father. I still cringe at that sometimes. I've accepted it. Because I look like both of them, I guess. So my cousin no, I ain't gonna say that. I'm not gonna speak that on myself. She said I'm gonna end up like my dad with no hair on top of his head. I rebuke that. But anyway, I hated who I was. I was ashamed of me. And then in 2009, I think I made the best decision I could have made in my life. And I'm just running through this for everyone to catch up to where I want to end today. I moved home to work with my dad. And I realized, Myles isn't so bad. The strain that was placed on me and my dad's life stunted my development as an individual. Or stunted the person that he wanted to assist me to become. Because I was running from who I really was. So coming back home to work with him, I had to learn to work with my dad. Me and my dad butted heads a lot in the first year that I came home because we are two totally different persons. My dad is outgoing, friendly, want to talk to everybody. Me, I am the exact opposite. Please don't talk to me. Leave me alone. I don't feel like having a conversation today. Let me just come in, let me do my work, and let me leave. But my dad taught me that I can't be selfish. As a leader, you can't be selfish. You have to adapt. You have to adjust your individuality to develop yourself as a leader. My dad taught me unconditional love. Regardless of how I felt and how much I said I detested being his son, he loved me anyway. And I think that was one of the greatest lessons he could have ever taught me. My parents taught me to death. Like, I've always heard the term unconditional love, unconditional love. But their love was truly unconditional. And I just observed him. I observed the way that he interacted with the different people that he came into contact with. And I learned so much from those interactions. I learned how to develop my interactions. I learned how to come out of my shell, to be a bit more of an extrovert because I was so introverted. I learned how to start conversations. I learned how to smile when I talk. You know, Charissa mentioned yesterday that folks always thought that my mother was such a mean person because, not intentionally, but she didn't really smile too much. But once you got to know her, you'd be like, wow, you're a really sweet person. Didn't know you were this nice. And I think I carried a bit of that with myself because, folks always told me, man, I always thought you was a mean person because you don't smile often. So I learned how to smile. I learned how to enjoy or pretend like I am enjoying. Thank you, Gene. So I discovered a few things about developing into and emerging into a leader. Or more importantly, I discovered how to develop into becoming Myles Munroe Jr. And I realized that the opposite of love wasn't hate, but it was fear. I really didn't hate being Myles Munroe. I was afraid of being Myles Munroe. I put so much expectations on myself, telling myself I could never be my father. I could never be like my father. People see him as this great individual who has done so many great things. How can I live up to that? So that made me afraid because what if I never became as great or greater than my dad? What if I failed at that goal? And this change, having a conversation with my dad in 2013 where he said, look, child, don't look at it as expectations, but look at it as a responsibility that you have. I've given you my name because I love you. Look at it as a responsibility now to take that name and take the platform that I have given you to higher heights. Expand it to areas that I won't be able to. So I started with these principles yesterday. First is self-love. Confidence. You could never become who you're truly supposed to become until you accept the person that you are. You have to be confident in the individual that you are. Because you can't be somebody else. It's hard to be somebody else because you'll be living a lie. Everyone has gifts, everyone has talents. Develop that gift. And that's usually the thing that you love the most, the thing that you're most passionate about. Develop your character. Your character needs to be tested. Test positive each time. Be a person of a character where folks could be able to predict with your response, your reaction, what decision you would make. Talia spoke earlier about me wanting her to make more decisions. Don't lean on me for the decision making. That's something that my dad did to me, that I learned from him. I always used to go to my dad and ask him a question, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? He never gave me an answer, never gave me a direct answer, always gave me a scenario. What would you do? I would answer him, and then he would say, well, that's good, but here's what I would do, and here's why. You must develop your character, because the gifts that you have will get you in the room, will get you on the stage, will get you in front of people that you probably wouldn't have gotten into or in front of if you weren't as talented or gifted as you are. But your character keeps you there. Your gift can only take you so far. Self-awareness. Know who you are. Know what you're good at. Know your strengths. Know your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Once you know your strengths, one thing my dad did, my dad knew what he was good at. He taught me that I should never be the smartest person in my circle. I always want to be able to learn from the people that I'm around, because I know what I'm good at. And I know what my weaknesses are. I have very little patience, so I need patient people around me. I know what I want, and I know I need to achieve it. But so I need people around me that could say, look, Chara, relax. We got you. So I'm building a team around myself that allows me to strengthen my weaknesses, and I'm able to strengthen their weaknesses, because my strengths are their weaknesses and vice versa. So know who you are. Know what you can do, and know what you can't do. And better yourself at those things that you can do. And the best thing to do, or the best way to do that, is to surround yourself with folks that are strong in areas that you're weak. And then self-time. For me, this is the most important. Take time for yourself. To develop yourself into the individual that you are, you need to understand who you are. What gets you up every morning? What stirs your creativity? What makes you want to be and love everything that you do? So meditate, pray, take time for you. Me, my time is traveling, going to the gym, cooking, listening to music, playing sports, watching movies. So that's what I like to do. Those are the times that I take. Learn to say no. A lot of people are going to be pulling from you, asking you to do things when they want you to do it. The best word you could learn in the dictionary is no. This is my time. Falling. It's a part of developing into a great leader. We are all going to fail at something. It's inevitable that we're going to fail. But fall up. Learn something from each failure. There's a lesson in every defeat. You could learn something from even your successes. You could learn how to do it better, what didn't work this time. But failing is the best thing that could happen to a leader, because it puts us in a place where we're most vulnerable, because we failed. And we're forced to learn from that. Or we should be forced to learn from that. To understand, okay, why is it I failed at this? What do I need to do? What do I need to change to possibly perfect what I was trying to do and get a better result next time? So know that you're going to fail. You won't succeed at everything. Freedom. Feel free to do what it is you want to do, regardless of what someone else may think feel, or say to you about your ideas, your vision, feel free to be happy to do it. Enjoy being you. Trust the process that you've been given. You know, I really didn't perfect the leader that I am until I was 29 years old. I had that conversation with my dad in January of 2013. And that's when everything clicked for me. That was late in my life. I mean, some people think that you're supposed to discover who you are as a young adult, between 20 and 25 or whatever age bracket you may put that into. But for me, it was 29. So for 29 years of my life, or 28 years of my life, I was running around, moving around, working, not knowing who I really was. Honestly, just doing things because this is what I thought folks expected me to do. This is what my dad wants me to do, so I'm going to do this. And then I realized that I was living a lie. I wasn't happy being that person. I wasn't free being that person. I felt caged because my ideas weren't mine. My creativity wasn't being sparked. So freedom is very important. You have to feel, or you have to possess the freedom to be you and enjoy being you. Don't apologize for being you. And finally, fear versus faith. You know, folks ask me all the time, what is your greatest fear? My greatest fear is failing. You know, Jerissa mentioned this. She and I talk about this all the time. Failure is something that I never want to experience. But it's something that is inevitable. So how do you deal with that? You have to trust the vision you've been given. This event, for example, I went back and forth about this event a million times. I'm not going to do this. This is impossible. How am I going to put this together? I'm fearful of this event not being what I envision it being. There's no way that me, going through what I've been through, me and my family, to be able to put an event on like this and it be successful. People think, you know, sometimes whatever we come up with, we automatically think it's going to be successful. No, we don't. I doubted myself, and you know, Tyler could attest to this. You know, there will be days I'll come into the office and be like, man, I think I'm going to cancel Mel. Because I'm afraid of what the possible outcome could be. You know what fear does? Fear stunts you. And it stops you from achieving or being the individual that you are. It stops you from really being the leader that you're supposed to be. So you have to have faith. You have to, don't run away from fear, but don't feed your fear. When you become afraid, tell yourself, it's okay, it's all right. I'm just going to trust that this vision I've been given, will be provided for. Everything is going to fall into place. I guarantee you nine more times than not that it really does. You know, my dad would come to me with an idea or a project or an event and be like, okay, let's just do this. And I'd be like, okay, where are we going to get the funding? Where are we going to get the speakers? How are we going to put this event together? Just do it. And I would look at him like, what? Like, you think I'm a magician? Like I'm just going to wave a magic wand and everything's going to come together? No, but you start the process by taking the step towards achieving that goal. And then watch everything fall into place. So don't let fear stunt you. Feed your fear with faith. So, I took all of these principles and learned who I was as an individual. I started hating the fact that I was Myles Munroe. Hating the fact that Myles Munroe, this world-renowned pastor, speaker, motivational individual, consultant was my father. But now I know who I am. I am an introvert. I am stylish, yes. I am an emotional individual. I am passionate. I am frugal. Thank you. I'm not ashamed of it. I will sit, yes, I will shout. And it's who I am, and I'm not ashamed of it. I've accepted it. I'm learning to be sympathetic and empathetic. I was horrible at that. Empathy, I didn't even know how to be empathetic. I'm constantly trying to better myself. I'm not a pastor like my father. But who am I? I'm Myles Munroe. And I am okay being Myles Munroe. Thank you.